anything with Ohio State is a crock of shit.
I mean, okay, if Ohio State's 20 million, Penn State's probably 18. Like,
yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure Nicholas Singleton got offered $1 million to buy a bunch of schools to transfer,
yeah.
and he turned it down. Our running back,
So how much would somebody like Caleb Williams have been making last year, for instance?
Had to be making over $1 million.
Yeah. And he pockets that money, like $1 million, like to him, right? Like to Caleb Williams, not like, yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure there's like, I don't want to say it's an agent, but like somebody or even a financial advisor, but maybe something in between that, and not just like a parent or a guardian who can help manage the money. But I don't know either. Nobody's ever offered me that kind of money. So
now what's nice, what's good about it is like the players are finally getting, some players are finally getting, through a jerry-rigged system, compensation.
Mm-hmm.
However, it's still not compensation for their, like, it's not equitable for everyone. It's, it's for certain players, and it's not coming from the school, right? So basically, if you're like that second string defensive lineman who, worked your way onto the team and then play some important snaps and then tear your ACL and lose your scholarship, and suddenly you're on the hook for your medical bills and can't, like, doesn't help him at all. So it's still very, very screwy and very, very imbalanced, where these, it's still exploitative,
yeah.
But at least, I don't know, there's a lot of problems. There's a ton of problems with the NIL system, but at least it's allowing athletes to get some money. Some athletes to get some money.
And literally, I just saw it today. One of the a guy who used to be an SID, a sports information director, at I forget what school off the top of my head, but he writes a column on Substack, and I follow him, and he's pretty knowledgeable about college football in general, especially when it comes to, like, the whole reason Ethan and I were talking about all this in the first place, because Ethan was like, he thinks of college football as like, when we were all kids, and obviously it's very different. And I've been joking with this guy that, like, the only reason I know so much is from reading his column. But anyway, he posted just today that there's another snag in the whole, like, House versus NIL NCAA lawsuit or whatever, over some clause that it's not clear, like, what the benefit is, I guess, and the judge is not ready to move forward with it. So it's just like you said, Matt, it's a clusterfuck. With the NCAA obviously doesn't want the student athletes to get the upper hand, right? Yep. So they're doing all they can to maintain what little power they have left, and it's just kind of come to a stalemate, I think, at this point.
Now, it's also led to some really interesting situations playing out. And Ethan, bring this up, as your new rival has a player on the team named Shiloh Sanders, who has declared bankruptcy.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's 20. Also, he's 24. So he's
wow.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
He's still playing college football. He's 24. He's declared bankruptcy based on I think it's a judgment and a lawsuit from when he like shoved or beat up a security guard in high school.
Yeah, I think we talked about it a little bit on one of the podcast episodes.
And so they're still going after him because, he's pleading bankruptcy, pleading there's no assets, but yet there's this NIL deal out there, and he's still, his wardrobe is. Oh yeah, okay. This is what I said before. That's right. His wardrobe is probably more expensive than, like, my house.
Because aren't he and Shedeur are both, like, huge deals who are going to go, like, high in the draft and shit, right? Or at least Shedeur is, maybe not Shiloh.
Maybe not both of them.
Oh, okay.
Hard to tell.
Shiloh, I don't think is quite as talented as Shedeur, but
it's hard to separate daddy hype from performance, right?
Like, well, that's the thing, right?
They just got smoked by your old home state.
Who'd they get smoked by? Nebraska. Oh, Nebraska. That's right. I saw that. Yeah, they got smoked by Nebraska. Yeah, Nebraska hasn't been like legit really good in a long time. And actually, we shouldn't spend too much time on college football, but I was thinking about this obviously because so Matt mentioned the rivalry. So literally this weekend is the Rocky Mountain Showdown, which is CU against CSU. And CU is coming to Fort Collins for the first time since 1996.
Go Buffs.
So it's probably going to be, what's that, Jeremy?
Go Buffs.
Oh, what the fuck, dude? Unbelievable. Which, by the way, those of you who are listening, Brother Jeremy is here. That's who you just heard. Very exciting, very special guest. But and he just said something horrible and sacrilegious. But in any case, I was thinking about this because CU only beat CSU in double overtime last year, barely beat them. There's all this hype about Shadur and about Dion, all of this money, blah, 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 blah. They won, how many games did they win last year? Like
they were
4?
Not good.
5, maybe.
And they just got stomped by Nebraska. Obviously, we'll see what happens this weekend. They might stomp us, but like it does seem to be one of those situations where Prime is like really fucking good at the sort of marketing and hyping side of things, and maybe there's a bit of a facade happening. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens this weekend.
Yeah, and to be fair, as the one who probably knows the most about his journey, he at Jackson State, they were amazing. When he took that HBCU job, and he recruited Travis Hunter, who's he was at the time the number 1 recruit in the country to come there and play there, and he brought him to Colorado and everything. It's obviously a big jump.
Fair enough.
That we talked about, one of the other things that we talked about is the whole method. He went with a portal mass exit, when he first took over, and they've done that basically both years, just totally revamped the team. And so far it hasn't stuck. So yeah, I think there's something to potentially his method and maybe it not working out at that level, the way things are set up right now. He's also dealing with some pretty serious health stuff.
Dion is?
Yeah. His foot, I believe it was. And obviously you don't need your foot to think, whatever, but your foot affects everything. I mean, it's if it's bothering you as much as, some other people here who've had injuries, and everything, like it can, really be distracting. So I don't know if it's a combination of all that, with him. It is just striking though, the hype and everything that was going on last year at this time. They had the upset of TCU, who was in the national championship the year before.
Right, that's right.
I think they won their first 3 games, and they were ranked in, I think, the top 15 or whatever, and they just look awful right now. So, we'll see.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. But, Brother Jeremy, welcome back.
Should we discuss what we're drinking first?
Yeah, do it up
before we dig into things.
I got a special beer for tonight. So,
Ooh.
Yeah, what do you got?
Ethan looked excited. I don't know.
Well, it's probably going to be Switchback.
Wrong.
Any
other guesses before I reveal?
Hey, Switchback special. Hey, Topper.
Switchback is my go-to. Heady Topper's overrated.
Yeah, it is. I agree.
Switchback, like if I go out to a bar, that's my go-to beer. It's like if Budweiser was a good beer. I am drinking Pavement, likely named after the band, from Foam.
Oh, Foam, hell yeah.
Because Foam is arguably the best brewery in Vermont, and I want to put that out there. And you guys talk about beers so often, especially Vermont beers, and I know Foam's been mentioned, but I love Foam, so I gotta have a Foam tonight.
Yeah, the one time I made like a dedicated attempt to go there, they were close to their Christmas party. It was like, shit.
It's probably the one day out of the year, like the bar.
Yeah, like it was like the 23rd or something, and it was like, damn it. Now, before we go on to everyone else's beer, have you had anything from Freak Folk? That's a name I'm starting to hear pop up in the Vermont.
That's a
beer
Vermont
scene.
beer?
Yeah.
The name's ringing a bell, but I don't think it's anything local to me.
I think they're in Middlebury.
Okay. Well, it's just fairly local. I mean, that's about an hour south of me.
An hour.
That's where I'm spacing on his name right now, but Tyrion Lannister went to school there.
Oh, Peter Dinklage.
Yeah, Peter Dinklage was a
Yeah.
Middlebury alumni. Or is
Oh,
it?
sorry, Waterbury. Waterbury.
Oh,
Damn it.
that's even closer.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Wow.
So
Okay.
it's yeah, it's just around the corner from Prohibition Pig, which
I was just gonna say Pro Pig is what I know of. That's what I think of
oh
when I
yeah,
think of Waterbury beer.
amazing freaking barbecue.
It's arguably the best restaurant in the state that I've been to, which is the best restaurant in the state.
Amazing.
So Ethan, what do you got?
So, Matt, I was going to do a really shitty test and see if you can tell. Oh, yeah, I probably gave you too much of a glimpse already. I was curious if you would be able to tell just by this like design on the can.
No.
So,
Odell, I just saw. I
yeah, I saw the
saw
Odell.
a
Yeah,
little
I
leaf.
just
Yeah.
because Odell is like bigger and more out there. I had it in my mind that you might be able to see the can and just know because sometimes you do that. Anyways, we had I mentioned this I think last time. We had a housewarming party a couple of weeks ago, and we bought a bunch of beer, and then nobody drank. So I'm working on those, and so we had just gotten an Odell sample pack. So nothing that exciting, just Odell Mountain Standard IPA, which actually I haven't had it. It's pretty good as far as I generally try to do the smaller breweries as we know, but yeah, it's pretty good. Jeremy, you don't have to raise your hand.
I don't interrupt them. I guess that's Colorado too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's here in Fort Collins.
That's Fort
Yeah.
Collins. Okay, I've
Yeah.
definitely had Odell's when I lived out there.
Yeah, definitely. It's everywhere out here.
I want to say that's one of the ones that's just kind of like on tap at most bars.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah,
They're
it's been
fairly
here.
ubiquitous in Colorado.
Yeah, and they've been around since '89. They're one of like the OGs. Them in like New Belgium, and I
New
think
Belgium,
Odell
I
is
love.
still like independently owned, but yeah. So
Colin, what do you got?
I have a pretty cool one, actually. This is one of the more unique ones. So there's a brewery called Frothy Beard Brewing in South Carolina,
such a good
Charleston
name.
area, and they opened a location in Charlotte. Unfortunately, they closed after I think only 3 months or so. And Toddy had gotten me for Father's Day a gift card there, and so I went, to use it because I was like, I don't know, the next time we're going to Charleston, and maybe that one's going to close, eventually. But my beer, I'll show you both the can and the beer. So I have a 4-pack, all the Ninja Turtles. They're all different beers. This is a sour ale with plum, blackberry, and black currant. Currant. Yeah. Here's what it looks like.
Is it on the sweeter side or the tartar side?
Definitely the sweeter side.
Okay, so I probably wouldn't like it. It looks nice. Looks pretty.
Yeah, it looks cool. It's like bluish. I don't know how much you can tell in the camera here, but it's
It
bluish.
looks like purple Kool-Aid that you put way too much mix in.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, they
you
have
can
a
definitely
beer.
taste the blackberry more than the plum, which is kind of a bummer for me. I was hoping to taste the plum more, but still pretty good. And I think I'm going to save the other ones, and I'll just put them in rotation whenever we have a podcast episode, so you can see them all.
They have pretty. So in addition to the great name of the brewery, Frothy Beard, they also have some pretty great names for their beers. I'm looking it up. So one is called Sip Sip Pass, which I assume is a play on Puff Puff Pass. I like that. There's one called Andale Pale Ale, and it's cucumber time, but time like the herb.
Okay.
So it sounds like a pretty fun place. Out at Third, I guess they have a baseball one. So yeah, sounds like a pretty cool place.
Awesome. Yeah, I've never heard of them, but I'll have to keep an eye out for any of their beers, Colin. That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah. I don't even think we heard about them when we were down there twice last year. And like I said, they just opened a spot here, and Toddy was like, "Oh, different brewery, get you a gift card." And the location that they were in has had how there was that pizza shop in the village somewhere of Liverpool that kept getting turned over. I think where what was that ice cream shop?
Uh,
God,
The fuck
I
was the
don't know.
name? Vicky's? No.
Vicky's, yes.
Was it
yes.
Vicky's?
Yeah,
Holy shit!
yeah,
Where did I
Vicky's.
pull that from? Okay.
It was like right across the street from that, and it would just rotate pizza shop after
Hey,
pizza shop.
hey, that was Gino and Joe's for a while now. It was for a while.
Well, I'm just saying that's what this spot.
Oh,
seems to
no,
be
you're
for
talking the
breweries.
other way. You're not Gino and Joe's. You're talking the one right next to Sant'Angelo's.
Yep, right.
Yeah,
in that, right.
Yeah,
in
that
area.
tiny little
Yep.
brick place. Yeah, okay, you're
yeah.
right. That was like a new place every 6 months.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So only Liverpool people get that.
Yep.
I actually weird enough before I get to like this guy at the sandwich shop I went to today. Went to Elmcrest.
No shit.
Yeah. He moved away when he was in middle school. Giant guy with a big beard named Eli.
How
I was
old
like,
is
"Do you
he?
know anyone with the last name Cernelia or Ertz?" And he was like, "I'm a little younger than you, but like."
Yeah, but
So
I
he
went to
moved away in middle
Elmcrest.
school.
Yeah,
What?
Jeremy went to Elmcrest.
Oh, I thought. Oh, wait, you guys went to Craven.
Craven closed after my first grade year,
Closed.
so I went from
Right.
second to
Okay.
sixth grade.
Yeah, this guy, giant guy named Eli, really really nice. Worked at the Greek sandwich shop here in town. Because I gave him my phone number for a rewards program, and he was like, "Wait, where are you from?" And I was like, "Syracuse." And he was like, "No, I know. Where in Syracuse?" And I was like, "Liverpool." And he's like, "No fucking way." So he said he lived in Strawberry
Fields.
Fields?
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah.
Strawberry Pastures or Strawberry Fields or something. Yeah.
Amazing. Wow.
But anyway, I got a. This is checking two things off tonight. It's a music themed beer, and it's from a play. Well, it's got a musical picture on there for Jeremy, and it's Ethan's, one of Ethan's favorite breweries. Funky Blender preserves from
fuck yeah.
Casey, a raspberry
That
cherry
looks
vanilla sour.
Oh.
This is my last Casey beer. From a friend who used to send me big boxes of Casey. So this is from August of 2019. So this is pre-pandemic toastiness. I don't know, tastiness. I don't know. It's 7%, but it's and it's tart. It's very tart, but it's raspberry cherry vanilla. Oh my god, it's fantastic.
Oh,
Wow.
man. Casey. So fucking good.
Is that the one out in Greeley?
No,
this
they're up
one-
in Glenwood Springs.
Yeah.
Oh, they're Glenwood.
Way up in
Okay.
the mountains past Vale.
Oh, I know
the
Glenwood.
Greeley the Greeley one, Jeremy, is Weldworks.
Wildworks. I got to try both
Yeah.
of those. I got to come out and visit because
Yeah, when you come out, we will. I'll get some of each when you come out.
Yeah, actually, or Ethan, Jeremy might be the perfect person to take a road trip up in the mountains and get to Glenwood Springs.
Actually, that's true.
I
Yeah,
can drive
that's a
those
good
roads
point.
better than you can, buddy.
Well, right,
Uh-huh.
and if you go to Glenwood Springs, stop at oh shoot, what's the place in Frisco? I always talk about
yeah, we've talked about it before. The fuck is it called?
Outer Range.
Outer Range. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I had one of theirs on the pod. I think recently.
Yeah.
That's right.
But yeah, so Jeremy, I've wanted to go to Glenwood Springs like every time. Like there always seems to be a reason I can't make it, whether it's a storm or scheduling or something like that. But
Let's make a
Yeah.
trip. Let's go.
I was gonna say next time you guys come out for like a Trampled Red Rocks show, we'll the Trampled Red Rocks show, at least traditionally, has always been on a Thursday. So we'll make a long weekend of it, and we'll have to incorporate a Glenwood Springs trip into it.
well, so the other thing that they've done, which again, if I could have pulled it off, I would have. I thought they played a show near Frisco.
Yeah, there's an amphitheater out, the Dillon Amphitheater. They've played
Yeah.
there a bunch in the last few years.
Yeah, which is just
Dillon
up the
is
road.
right near Frisco.
Yeah. So that was one where I'd be like, oh man, that'd be awesome. Like
Yeah.
just stay up at an empty ski lodge with cheap summer rates and fucking
Absolutely.
go
Yeah.
nuts.
And those towns
love
are beautiful. I've spent time in all of those towns because I have an ex who is from Silverthorne, which is one of those towns up there. And they're all like beautiful in the mountains. It's amazing.
Oh shit, that's where they're from? I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So,
Hmm.
Frisco, Dillon, Silverthorne. What's the other one, Jeremy? There's I feel like there's another one.
Wilderness?
Breckenridge. Yeah,
You know, where I
Breckenridge is
lived
up in
for a
that
year.
same area. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I forgot Breck is like in that same
we
vicinity
delivered
there. But
to Frisco and Silverthorne regularly.
yeah,
Dillon and Frisco are kind of like synonymous with one another just because that's where Keystone is. So you got like Copper, Keystone, and Breck all within 30 minutes of each other. So you got three world-class ski resorts right there in Summit County. And then you got Head Basin up the way, which is on the Loveland Pass, which is also a really cool spot. But I won't nerd out about snowboarding.
But I mean, it's interesting. I mean, it's literally that area, Jeremy. Correct me if I'm wrong, because you know, I mean, you're into snowboarding. You know this kind of stuff. That's literally like considered one of the best winter sports areas like in the world, isn't it? Like those resorts like for skiing and snowboarding and shit. I mean, it's like highly in demand.
Yeah, they're world class. I mean,
Yeah.
people come internationally. The reason I got a job so easily when I worked out there was because it was 2020. It was the winter of 2020 into 21. So obviously things were shut down. Normally, a lot of those resorts get, I believe, what they call J1s, which is some sort of visa type, which is mostly folks from South America. You see a lot of Peruvians, Ecuadorians, etc. Those are the big two. I want to say Argentine, perhaps. They come up and they work at all the ski resorts, and they go home, you know, for the summer when it's winter there, and they do the same exact thing. So they just get to like hang out at ski resorts year round. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's awesome. Really quickly before we move on to other stuff, Matt, when you said that the beer, the Casey beer, the Funky Blender, is like music themed, is there any deeper story to that besides for like funky?
I don't know. I never actually looked closely at the label.
Okay,
and I was like, oh, it's a drum set.
Like drums on the barrels. Yeah.
Okay. No, I didn't know though. Because I mean, they normally name their stuff pretty straightforward anyway. So
yeah, right.
I don't know if there's any hidden meaning there or not, but
yeah. Okay. Well, so since we have Jeremy on, I figured he probably has some stuff he may want to talk about. I figured we would definitely want to talk about the band and all that kind of stuff. But before we get into that, was there anything on the docket that we wanted to hit? Any baseball shit?
My brother Jeremy Cook.
Okay.
Jormby.
So Jeremy, you can obviously talk about whatever you want, but first we should tell everybody that your band Voices in Vain is going to be releasing your long-awaited new LP next month, October
18th, release show October 26th in Burlington, Vermont. You're all invited. You have a place to stay if you want to come. You got to figure out travel. But yeah, our second LP, The Only Love I Know, is coming out. We started recording it. I've probably said this on the last couple times I've been on here, but we started recording March of 2020. We got 3 songs tracked on guitars, and then we couldn't record for 18 months after. You know, so we're going on our 10th year as a band, and we're all 30 years old now, and that's making life weird. We're like, hey, we're still trying to be in a metal band at 30 years old. But, you know, you got to take into account that we lost 2 years of our life making this. Yeah. And I think it's sick. I'll just put it bluntly. I mean, I scream and I do a little bit of singing, so I'm not the talented one in the band. Some will argue with that, but at the end of the day, the other guys in the band have stepped up in a way that I never thought possible. So musically speaking, this record is kick-ass from the first second to the last, and I'm just happy to be a part of the project. And
you already released your first single. Talk about that a little bit.
That song's called Controller Race. It was written around... Lyrically, it was one of the last songs I finished because it's such a chaotic song, and there's a lot of
don't sell yourself short. By the way, I was going to say, in addition to the screaming and the singing, you're the primary lyricist. So I mean, that's pretty fucking important.
I write the lyrics. You know, Greg, our producer, usually has some stuff that's kind of. Some stuff I'll go in and I'll do everything and be like, those lyrics rock, this song's great. And some stuff's it's like, you know, we got to work on some shit. And that was a song we worked on for a long time because while it's only 2.5 minutes long, it's insane. Musically speaking, it's none of it should make sense, and it does. There's a lot of polyrhythmic stuff. You know, the end is this breakdown where the guitars are doing this dun 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 dun. But meanwhile, the drummer is playing like he just smoked an ounce of meth, and so there's the whole time. So it's when put together, it works, but it's not like it's easy to play. We're finally playing it live, but it took a long time to get it tight enough to play live. But yeah, that was a song that about a year and a half ago. Let's see, I'm about a year and a half clean now. Shortly before then, I was really struggling with substance abuse and drinking and other stuff. And those same guys, they sat me down and were like, "You're gonna die, and if you don't shape up, you're out of this band." And it's like, I started this band. I'm one of the guys. And so, I got my shit together. And so that song's really about kind of struggling with being in that position where you're stuck in kind of a loop, if you will. Drugs, alcohol, all the other stuff that come with it. And yeah, that song was written at the peak or the bottom, if you will, of where I was really, really fucked up. And I think the video was captured in a really cool way. And
it's cool.
And
the video is really
that.
cool.
Yeah, I think it represented kind of the tumultuous self-analyzation that comes when you're like, I'm doing cocaine all of the time. I'm doing random pills that strangers give me. I'm doing all this really stupid shit and destroying my life, but I can't get out of it. So it's kind of being stuck in that hole. And that song, I think, sonically and visually captured that feeling. And I'm really excited and proud of what that was. And I'm also excited and proud to not be in that mindset anymore. But
so is that what you get when you play it live? Like how, where does it take you? Is it a relive the journey? Is it a like, fuck it, I beat this? Like, I'm out of the loop? Like, how does it? Where do you go when you play that?
I think it depends on the night and the mindset, and I think that could go for just about any song we play. There's times where we'll do a song that's really personal, and I'll end it by having tears in my eyes, and there's other times I'll be smiling the whole time because it's just fun to play, and it's like, this is the past. This is over with. This song, I remember the first time we played it as a band, and I felt like we had just started it as a fresh band again, like I was 18 years old again, and being so excited and so from the heart. And when we played that one for the first time, that's what it felt like, was like just leaving everything out there at our drummer's house, in the middle of nowhere. So it really depends on the day and the time, but that song means a lot to me lyrically. And we chose it for the first song off the record to release as a single for a reason, because it's arguably the heaviest and most abrasive thing we've written. And so we wanted to, we surprise dropped it and we said, boom, here's the band now. Here we are 5 years later. Here's everything we've learned. Suck it.
So speaking of the band now, you guys had a little lineup change, right?
Slightly. We parted ways with our old bass player, which was kind of a mutual thing. Someone I love to death, and I don't want to get into that super deep. Everything's cool. Life just happens, and being in a band like this it's a commitment, and it always has been, and it always will be. And it's like dating. You hear this a lot if you listen to memoirs or autobiographies or read them, but a lot of folks always reference bandmates as like, I'm married to 4 different people, and all of those 4 different people are married to 4 other different people. And so it's this really intense and sometimes complicated dynamic. But, the fact that we've made it 10 years and we're still a band, it is something I'm incredibly proud of, because I've seen so many bands come and go who end up hating each other. And my bandmates and I have gone to the point of physical violence. And, but it's like brothers. And you guys all know that feeling of what it's like to, same people you kill for and die for are the same people that piss you off the most. So
I can say as a big brother, I never beat anybody up who was
beat me
younger.
up. You weren't even my big brother.
Man.
Well, somebody had to do it because we knew Scrawny Boy wasn't gonna.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, I was just smart enough to have other people do my dirty work for me. So,
Ryan Judd. Shout out Ryan Judd.
yeah, exactly. Ryan Judd, baby. But I would say that the new single sounds awesome. The
Thank
band
you.
sounds really, really good. I'm super excited to hear the rest of the record. Jeremy, are there going to be any other singles that will be released before October 18th?
So by the time this is released, we'll have another one out.
Oh, hell yeah.
It's another surprise drop. We're kind of doing that with all of them.
Nice.
But yeah, tomorrow we're dropping our next single. It's called Cyclical Hell, kind of the same theme. This one's less of a music video, more of a visualizer. We got this artist that we like off of Instagram to do a little visual thing for us, and it's really gory and grotesque and disturbing, and the song is really gory and grotesque and disturbing. So I'm really excited to share that. It's very heavily influenced by like industrial music and industrial metal, and so it's very off the cuff for us. It's very different, and so I'm excited to see how people react after we drop this, really fast, abrasive, heavy song, and then we're gonna this slow, noisy, electronic-y type song. And it's also it's funny because that's one of the songs that I went into the studio and just laid the tracks out, and it was like, cool, we're not changing anything. And I was like, yeah, because this song is by far the easiest song we've ever written. Musically speaking, it's slow and it's heavy. And it's in a regular, I want to say it's just 4/4. It's in a normal time signature. And
Hey, don't be timist, okay? 4/4 is not normal. All of the time signatures are equally normal.
So yeah, that'll be out tomorrow, and then there's a third one coming out, which is another music video that we did the same time as Controller Race. That one's called Only Death Can Save Me, and despite the term, it's actually a pretty positive song. In a way, that one's more so about ego death attained by heavy psychedelic use.
Oh, that's really cool.
Not so much about like, hey, I'm going to fucking off myself because life sucks. It's like, hey, life sucks. I'm going to eat copious amounts of drugs until everything melts away and I have a fresh new perspective on everything. And oh, wow, now look, life is beautiful and I have a renewed perspective and things are positive and optimistic. So it's that one's probably the most dynamic song we've ever written. So I'm glad that that's the last one we're putting out before the record's out, because it starts with this really pretty melodic, almost Deftones-y, Metallica, like One-esque vibe, with me singing some clean stuff, and then it gets like progressively heavier, and the video is also, it captures that theme really well, where it's clean and precise in the beginning, but as the video goes on, the visuals get a little more intense until like the bridge and breakdown, where it's like this peak. So if you've done hallucinogens, there's a peak with hallucinogens, and everything kind of melts away, and that's kind of what's captured there. Is it's very heavily, it's very heavily stimulating, but in like a really cool way. We did a lot of really beautiful nature shots, like probably about a year ago around the date when we filmed it, in places in northern Vermont. And the guy who filmed Controller Race filmed this as well and did some really cool video work with it. He did different lenses on the camera and stuff and did all this really trippy stuff. So it starts really clean, gets really trippy and intense, and then kind of ends really clean. And I think that song is gonna surprise a lot of people. I think a lot of people are going to really like it. It's arguably the most accessible song off the new record. So that's why I'm glad we're saving it for last. And we're releasing that one. I'm not going to say the date because it's going to be another surprise, but we're going to release that one, and then we're doing the album release 8 days before the actual show in hopes that people listen to the record and learn it, and like the energy and the crowd participation and stuff that they really show is high.
Man, if only psychedelics helped Aaron Rodgers with some ego death.
I think they emboldened his ego.
Yeah, like he had the opposite effect. But you guys now you have some special merch packages out there too, right? Like 50 pressings on vinyl.
So we got a press on vinyl. Still waiting on that. So hopefully by the release show we'll have them. Because vinyl is kind of unpredictable in this day and age, unfortunately. But it's getting a little bit easier. But I digress. Yeah, we're doing a pre-order right now for some vinyl. We also, for that release show, have the other 50 available to purchase as a ticket type. So basically, we got the advanced ticket type and the day of show ticket type, and then we have one that's in a vinyl inclusive. So you purchase that, you get a ticket to the show plus a record as you leave. So hopefully that does well. Hopefully people are excited about that. We put a lot of time and money and love and effort into this, including the artwork. We invested heavily into the artwork because it's been a long goal of ours, especially mine, to just have it on vinyl. I have a huge vinyl collection, a huge CD collection, and I have our previous releases on CD, but there's something way less satisfying than having it on vinyl.
Yeah, that's awesome. The reason I love to see more and more accessible vinyl, vinyl pressing. That like it, I didn't realize it was a thing until it's a brewery I volunteered at Cleveland, or back when I was in Cleveland, that was right next door. It was in an old industrial space right next door to a mom and pop custom vinyl presser that would do runs of 200 records at a time, and it was always jarring because I'd have to take the trash out when I volunteered, and you'd see like the bad presses or just like clumps of vinyl they couldn't recover, and you just see the bits and pieces of someone's hard work that didn't make it through the press, that was in the dumpster, that I don't know, I always it was like kind of poetic, but also I was taking the trash out. It was stinky brewery trash, so I was also not going to be hanging around looking at the dumpster. But that was really cool. Like the one time I got to kind of peer in and see them working and see their press working was really, really cool. I didn't realize that literally is like just a ball of vinyl goo that they're putting in there, and then they would, as they would do custom colors, that kind of stuff, you could see how they were adding that in. It was really neat.
It's funny because it's literally just wax. Yeah. If you're an audiophile, it's the purest way to listen to a record, which I don't understand. I'll listen to records that I have that I've listened to 1,000 times digitally, and I'll hear, layers that I had never heard before, and it just comes out in the vinyl master for whatever reason. I don't understand the physics or the engineering behind it, aside from a basic standpoint, but it's really cool stuff, and I'm glad that it's something that doesn't seem to ever want to die. I have a feeling that when we're at a point, and Colin, you already have kids, but the rest of us have kids, or when your kids are my age, is vinyl still going to be a trend then? Is that going to be exciting? Are CDs going to come back into play? I don't think CDs will, because they don't have the same, they don't appeal to the senses the same way that a vinyl does. It's like something you can touch, hear, feel, smell. Like Ethan and I both have a huge collection of our parents' old vinyls. I have a ton of them, and some of them still play fantastically well. And I'll pull them out, and it smells like my grandparents' basement, and it's nostalgic. And then it's also like, this is an investment in a lot of ways. If it stays popular, maybe some of these original Jackson Browne pressings I have are going to be worth a shit ton in a decade or two. Who knows? Or I'm screwed and I just have thousands of dollars worth of this vinyl.
There's lots of vinyl hunters out there. They go to like garage sales and things like that. So even if Jackson doesn't get you the gold mine, I think you'll be good.
I got some Eagles.
I was wondering, you were So I'll ask the question first, and then depending on your answer, I'll tell you what the context is. How important is it to you, either as an individual or as a band, to like put out a full album?
Very. You know, it's our second full length. Our first one was what I think a lot of bands' first ones are. If you listen to a band you really like, and you go back and you listen to that first record, that first full length, it's a lot of times it's parts and pieces. You can hear the influences. You can hear these members coming together with like an idea. This record for us is the first real Voices in Vain record, in my opinion. And it's, you know, we've had several releases. We did an EP, an album, several singles. And this one is the one that captures the sound that we set out to create almost 10 years ago now. We had a vision and an idea, and we didn't want to limit ourselves. And I think this album really, really captures that. And it's the first time. And that's why it's also really important, back to the vinyl, that it's really important that we have that, because this is, no matter what happens from the release show on, this is the epitome of the last 10 years. And that's a really, really cool feeling. And I'm just really excited to be a part of it. You know, again, I just screamed. So
No, I love it. And I mean, I totally understand that. And from my perspective, like I'm going to pre-order, like, I think it's going to be great. I am an album person. Like, I want a full record. Part of it is just like, that's how I grew up. But I think there is something, like Jeremy, you said, like all that blood, sweat, and tears that went into like defining the sound that you wanted. Like, I really appreciate that about an album. But the reason I was wondering, and why I even asked you, is because, earlier you were talking about how, you're all older now and you have other responsibilities and, things like that. And I was like, at least in pop culture, the way to go these days seems to just be putting out like, 2 or 3 singles together or whatever. I don't know, every 6 months or, something like that. And, I don't know what people besides Taylor Swift and Beyonce tour, under now, like if they, how they go about it, and whatever. But I was like, what if, like, I guess, let's just say there's a scenario where you're not able to do another full length album. Like, would that be a consideration though, to like be able to keep playing music together and recording together, to say like, okay, well, we'll pivot to maybe something that's not more traditional today, but like definitely more, you're seeing it more than in the past.
yeah, that's something. When we started out, we were like, we're gonna, I think our young naive selves were expecting us to be in a different place at this point in our lives, and we were like, we're gonna give it till 30, and if we're not famous, we quit. And now I don't think a single one of us feels that way. Speaking for myself, I don't give a shit. I'm a lifer. I'm going to make music till I die. It doesn't matter if it's this version or, I've learned how to play guitar. I mess around with making
the
beats.
Ertz brothers eventually.
The Ertz brothers eventually. Music has always been my greatest outlet, and I'm, someone who's pretty open with their struggles with mental health. And that's why I like doing what I do with the band, just because it's the most cathartic thing for me. But I think after this record, we're still planning on doing at least an EP. And we're like, you know what? If we get to a point where, unless we're offered really significant, cool tours, we're gonna live our lives. We all have cool careers. My guitar player, my best friend since 13, Lucas, he's a phenomenal tattoo artist now.
And a phenomenal regular artist. I don't have it up here, but I can't remember if I talked about it on the pod. I commissioned him to do an artwork of Woody Guthrie, one of my heroes, and not tattoos. He just like drew it, and it's fucking amazing. Like, Lucas is incredible.
Yeah, he pisses me off. If he wasn't the sweetest guy in the whole wide world, I'd hate him, because he's good at everything he does.
He's so good.
But I mean, that's how I met him. Was eighth grade art class when I first moved to Connecticut, and even back then, his art was really, really, really good. And I saw him play Van Eruption by Eddie Van Halen at like the eighth grade talent show, and he nailed it. And I was just like crying because I was like, I'm going to be in a band with this dude. And I was 13, so over 15 years later, I'm still in a band with this kid. So you know what I mean? Like, there's certain things that are just. It doesn't really matter what happens. I have a feeling I'm going to be making music with one or all of these guys in some capacity or another until I croak, because it's one of the things that keeps me going in this hellscape that we live in.
That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I had like, there have been so many various comments and questions popping up in my mind. I can't keep them all straight. Jeremy, for people who are interested, where should they go? Do you guys have like a Bandcamp
We have everything.
Yeah, everything. Spotify, Bandcamp, Apple. There's like, is it voicesinvain.com is like the band website?
We're actually .org. I don't know why. I don't know why or how.
I wonder if there are any other like heavy metal bands that have a .org website.
I have no fucking clue, dude.
That's
Lucas
amazing.
set that one up. It was just like, here's a new website, voicesinvain.org. And that's where you can go to see everything. If you want to check us out, we got music and merch there, tour dates, etc. But yeah, I that was kind of a shock to me. Every time I think .org, I kind of giggled to myself. But that being said, I'm pretty outspoken, and I think most of us are, with our socio-political views. And in a way, one of the things I preach the most, I don't talk a whole lot when I'm on stage. I'm kind of a quiet front man. I just kind of give it all to the performance. But one of the things I try to always talk about is A, mental health, and B, the proletariat uprising in the United States. More so anti-fascist than anything. I won't super get into that. But one thing I always talk about is making sure people are vigilant, and the United States has no place for fascism, and I'm just going to leave it at that. That was kind of an extension of a very simple question. I apologize.
No, you get to say whatever you want. I mean, think about the kind of rants that the three of us have gone on. You listen to the pod.
Every day, or well, not every day, but every day after
or
it's released.
Every time, yeah, exactly.
I get a notification every time you guys drop a new one. So
yeah,
I'm your number one fan.
Jeremy, yeah, you pretty much are. You and Toddy and cousin Greg, I think, and actually maybe Matt's mom. Matt, does your mom still listen? Okay.
Yep.
Shout out Toddy. Shout out cousin Greg.
Okay.
Shout out
Sam listens every week.
Shout out Mama Rudy.
Yeah, and actually, I think Brother Dan, at least in the past, has listened. I don't know if he listens every time, but
where's Brother Tim in all this? That's what I want.
Yeah,
no
Colin.
one knows.
That's a good question.
Brother Tim is too cool for us.
Every time, when I was down there for Memorial Day, every time I asked about Brother Tim, it would just be Tim's an enigma, and then that would be it. There was no more explanation. Just Tim's an enigma. Who knows?
What do you want me to say at this point?
I don't know.
I fucking love Tim though. When a couple Memorial Days ago, when I was there before I moved out west, me and Tim hung out a bunch, and not only do we enjoy partaking in the same kind of substances, but we have like shockingly similar taste in TV shows. We love all of the same stuff. So, Tim, I love you, enigma or not. And
I also love you.
Yeah,
Tim's I haven't seen you since Colin's wedding, but I love you.
Holy shit, has it been that long?
Dude,
wow.
He was my first. He was my first best friend. I mean,
Colin, I know.
Since I was probably just popped out of the womb. And
Colin and I have been friends since first grade, which was about when Jeremy was born. So yeah.
Yeah, and Tim followed shortly thereafter.
Right, because you're a year older than Tim.
Yeah, right? I don't know the exact months, but in school we were a year apart.
Yeah.
Wow. I can't believe I've almost known you your whole life.
You have known
so
me
crazy.
my whole life, man.
Yeah, that is nuts.
That's why I like this pod, because it just reminds me of sitting in the living room in Liverpool, just kind of as a fly on the wall, listening to you guys rant about shit I don't care about.
That's like what Matt's mom says, isn't it? Right?
She likes, yeah, it's like the having us around in the background. Like,
Yeah. Uh-huh. That's so funny. It's really interesting to me that people enjoy that because, I think about it every once in a while, like either in the middle of the pod or like after the fact. I'll think about it and I'm like, man, like the three of us really went deep on some like really nerdy baseball shit. That's like this is only interesting to like a pretty small percentage of the general population. We go beyond like batting average and shit, right? We're talking about like OPS pluses and we get into all the weeds on us. And I'm like, man, people are actually, somewhat entertained by this. Like, but I guess it's a
no,
vibe
I
or
think
whatever.
I think it's everything else, right? Like, I mean, my extended family and my dad's friends still talk about when we were all, pretty juiced on substances at the camp at the lake with the three of us and Toddy
Oh
having
God.
having a good time down at the lake. So
Yeah,
That was fun.
that
Yeah, that
was
was a good
I
amazing.
time.
think
Yeah.
How long ago was that? Like 10 years?
God, it
10
got to
years,
be,
yeah.
right? Yeah. Holy shit. So, Jeremy, is there anything else band wise or otherwise that you wanted to like talk about?
Unless you guys have questions, I mean, I'm cool with whatever.
Well, what I was going to say is, so we're 51 minutes in now into recording, and so I think 51 minutes in is the perfect time to start. So, Jeremy and I have joked in the past that Jeremy was going to come on the pod, and that he and I were just going to argue about the minutia of music subgenres for like an hour or two.
Yeah, I could do that. I
So,
could do that for another hour. You want to get
so I
real
think
pedantic with it?
exactly. Well, we get so pedantic with baseball, we might as well, No, but
Okay, starting point is Tool art metal, or are they prog rock, or is anything in between?
Yes.
Damn it.
Okay.
I would call
Yeah.
it prog metal or prog rock.
Prog metal, all right, yeah.
If I were
Okay.
to call it that. But I mean,
Yeah.
our metal's cool too because they write their music. They write their music with intention, and they get very meta with it. So it's like it's almost 3-dimensional in a lot of ways if you're looking at it from a music theory standpoint. What they're trying to do, like there's I can't remember off the top of my head, but I want to say there's a record they have that's basically the Fibonacci sequence put into
Yep,
music.
that's Lateralis.
It is Lateralis? Okay. Yeah, well, that's what I mean. That is arguably artistic and could be art metal. But at the end of the day, for a normal person, it's probably just prog rock.
It's funny because it's fun, Matt. It's funny you brought up Tool because when Jeremy was talking about what he's like as a front man, for whatever reason, maybe it's just because Tool is closer to voices in my head. I thought about when Matt and I saw Tool. Where was it in Philly or DC, Matt?
Philly, isn't
It was
Philly.
in Philly.
Tool?
Yeah, we saw Tool in Philly a couple years ago. And do you remember, Matt? What's his name again? The lead singer,
Maynard.
Maynard.
So,
Yeah.
I didn't want to, because I thought the same thing, but I also didn't like, depending on the circles, like I didn't want to draw comparisons because I didn't want to potentially insult Jeremy, because some people really love Tool and some people really absolutely hate Tool.
I'm on the love side.
Okay, good. All right. Well, so that's when you were talking about, you know, whether it's different time signatures or your process as a front man, right? Like the first thing I thought of is the fact that basically Maynard has said his Tool songs, a lot of them are very, very personal, and he doesn't want to be out in front. That's why he likes being in the back of the. Now, part of that could also be him just being a weirdo, but like he said some of these songs that go to bad places, and I don't want to be in front in a spotlight. I'm going to be in the back in the shadows.
I can relate.
So
to
there was that, but then also, Matt, do you remember it was really funny? So he talked about that, and he is in the shadows and in the back on a lot of those songs. But then every once in a while, in between songs, was it like Chipotle or something? He had eaten something for lunch, and it was causing him some like real gastric distress. And he brought it up a few times. It was really funny.
Was it a Philly cheesesteak?
Maybe, I can't remember, but it was quite funny because it's interesting because it's like what you talk about. I mean, he had talked about how the songs bring him to a dark place, and like you listen to Tool's music, and it's amazing, but it's like it's serious fucking music, and it's like then in between some of the songs, he was like joking about how his stomach felt like it had a brick in it or whatever, and it was really kind of cool to see. But I mean, they put on an amazing show. And Matt, didn't they go for like a good 2 hours? I mean, it was like
2.5 hours. Yeah.
yeah. And
I mean, it was only like 12 songs, but it was like 2.5 hours.
yeah.
It's like
But
a jam band.
they were
Yeah.
they were so tight though. I mean, I remember, you guys know I'm newer to sort of obviously I grew up on classic rock and Pink Floyd was one of my favorites, but in terms of the more more advanced kind of prog bands, people like Tool or Between the Buried and Me or Rush, even King Crimson, these kind of bands, I had never seen any of them live, and the type of music that they are playing, without getting into the music theory weeds here, the type of music that they are playing is extremely complex and sophisticated. And so I remember being blown away by Tool's show because they're doing everything from memory. It's a 2.5 hour show. It's also highly physical for them, and they were just on it like the whole time. I mean, it was amazing. Really incredible to see.
You still haven't seen BT Bam live, have you?
No, I want to, but actually I was going to tell you literally today, this afternoon. So I'm teaching a section of music appreciation this semester, as Colin and Matt, no, and Jeremy, I think you knew. I don't know if I talked about it on the pod, but I'm in the middle of introducing instruments and instrument families, right? That's kind of like a thing that we do in this class or whatever. And so today I was doing percussion, and I did this last semester too. One of the videos that I show is Blake Richardson, the drummer from BT Bam, and basically just to show them, like, number one, how physical of a pursuit playing the drums is.
He's huge.
And then he's fucking huge. And then also the complexity and the skill involved of doing this kind of music, right? Because like, I think about my classical background, and like I played a piece called The Rite of Spring by Igor Stravinsky. I did it in college and I did it as a pro, and it's one of the most complicated pieces of music ever written, but every professional orchestra can do it because that's just the level of skill you're talking about in those ways. But when you're playing that piece, you have music you're looking at, you have a conductor, and granted, for 80 or 100 people you need that in order to stay coordinated, but there's something like really amazing about watching these bands, be it Tool or BT Bam or any of these other kind of bands. Who's that Jeremy, who's that was it Chan? Yeah, Chan does like some really awesome, like super like kind of mathy complex shit. Whatever.
Yeah, they're like math rock, instrumental math rock, post rock kind of.
See, there you go. Instrumental math rock, perfect for our subgenre conversation. But doing it from memory and doing these long shows, I mean, these musicians are amazing. And I think so many people, like, it's not necessarily their aesthetic because it's too complicated or they don't like the screaming or whatever. But like for me, what I'm really trying to convey to people is this is like legitimate world-class musicianship. I mean, it's amazing. So really, really cool stuff.
Blake Richardson's the type of dude that's going to be able to play 4 different time signatures with all 4 of his limbs and somehow still make a groove.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's ridiculous. Yeah.
So yeah, there's when you get into the prog world, and I was actually having this conversation at work today because I booked a really sweet up and coming prog band, and it's not selling like any tickets, and I feel really bad because this band is like Snarky Puppy and Animals as Leaders Had Baby. It's very,
wow, that's cool.
I'm pretty sure they're all Berkeley kids.
Okay.
But it's like heavy, it's instrumental, it's super proggy, but it's still groovy. Like it's stuff that makes you think, but still nod your head. There's a lot of prog rock, metal, whatever out there that is just it's a pissing competition. And it's saying, look at how many notes I can play and this weird time signature, and you're listening. It's like blah, 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 and it's just like there's no sonic like appeal to this. There's no reason why this should be enjoyable other than the fact that you guys are just having a circle jerk about how talented you are.
Man.
Hard for the sake of hard does not make good music, right?
Exactly.
No, that's why the Beatles are revered. They wrote literally the simplest music of all time. Okay, we could
at least the early stuff, yeah.
The early stuff, they got weird, but like we could look at modern country, pop country specifically, and it's the same 3 chords, it's the same key for all songs, the lyrics are almost identical, and yet that shit sells out arenas countrywide. You could be so and so and go on a tour just once every summer and just play sheds outdoors. Shed is arenas for those who aren't in the industry, like SPAC would be considered a shed.
Sure.
they could do that. They could play bro country. They could play the most generic bullshit ever, make several million off of a 2-month summer tour, and just live fine. Meanwhile, you got people like myself and millions of others who are like trying to create and be unique and cool as we perceive it. Something that like voices. We want people to enjoy it, but at the end of the day, we enjoy it, and that's the thing that is the most important. We like the music that we make. We could listen to the music that we make. I listen to the record every single day, just about, because I think it's that fucking good. Not everyone's going to agree with me on that, but at the end of the day, we're an LLC and all that stuff, but we're not making money. Even if we start doing support tours and stuff, I see what a support band makes every night. It's not a lot. And again, back to the band that I'm talking about this weekend. It's like really cool up and coming bands. That's Jormby book, and you get such cool acts, and then they do less than 50 tickets, and it's just like, oh, that really hurt the business, but like, I'm glad we gave you a stage and a room to play in front of new people because you deserve that. And that's what I love most about my job is I've discovered so many cool up and coming bands that to 80+% of the population are no names. Like Electric Six, I Love Your Hat. A band I'm not even familiar with. When we signed on, I saw that and I was like, I know Matt loves this band. I gotta just for shits and giggles go check it out. Spotify, they got a million monthly listeners. Like, that's a lot. Like, I would book a band just based on that alone. Without listening to them, I would see that number and be like, they're going to have fans here. Fuck it, let's throw it on the calendar.
Like, well, and there's a good four or five bands that I really like now that I would have never known. They were openers for Electric Six. And it's like, fuck, this is amazing. Like, this was great. And I would have never known. I would have never known that Little Hurricane or the Constellations, or I mean, I guess I knew of Local H before, but I saw Local H and
Bound
Electric
for the
Six
floor,
on
dude.
Hell yeah! And Local H was the opener for the show I saw. It was the first Electric Six show I saw, but man, they killed it. Yeah,
Matt, how many times have you seen Electric Six now?
I think 34.
Holy
my god!
Yeah.
Amazing.
That's more than any band I've ever seen, like multiple times over.
Same for me.
I want to say Trampled or BT Bam are the two top I've seen, and I've seen both of them maybe like 8 or 9 times.
Yeah, 34.
I'm seeing them in Scotland in November.
That's awesome.
Which is amazing because they make all their money, and their two or three biggest hits were #1 chart toppers in the UK. So
that's right. They're big over there, right? Or
yeah, they're big over there. So anyways. like it's going to be like they just did a 12 shows in Australia, and like 6 of them sold out. Like bigger venues, right? I'm going to be seeing them at like a 500 cap venue, and I think it's sold out.
Oh hell yeah!
So like bigger things than like the club that I've seen here. The clubs I've seen them here. It might even be bigger than 500 people. We'll see. I don't actually know what the venue's like, but like you go back to, what's that big? There's like a couple really big music festivals in the UK. I'm looking it up because like I saw these guys as one of like 50 people or one of 100 people in a club in the Grog Shop, Ethan, in Cleveland.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yet they're also like, on the main stage on Glastonbury. Like, oh fuck, like, yeah, it's like, oh okay, like there's 200,000 people going nuts here for them, and yeah, now I mean, how the mighty have fallen, I don't know, but
interesting. Yeah.
So yeah, I can't wait.
It's amazing. Can
I just say,
yeah,
since Jeremy doesn't care anyway, Soto might have a broken foot. First off. Second off, so this all just happened like 2 minutes ago.
You have the game on. That's what you were making.
Yep, he fouled the pitch off like the top of the ankle to the top of the foot. He just hit a 2-run homer to give the Yankees the lead.
But he might have broken his foot.
I mean, it was like a 5-minute delay that the training staff was out and everything. And the first pitch was a curveball after the foul ball. or after the foul ball off the foot, and he just like didn't look like he could plant on the foot. Like he just checked his swing because he was like, oh shit, that's a lot of pain or whatever, and he just cranked the next pitch out into right field, and the adrenaline's kicking and he got around the bases and everything. But God, I am worried that
we're fucked if he's out. Yeah,
he's done for the year.
Yeah, man, I love him so much.
Who
It
is
was
it?
like the Matt Carpenter thing.
Juan Soto.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, Rizzo went nuts.
We'll see.
They're showing the highlight.
Oh, like when he hit it, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys are the only reason I have any idea what's going on in the MLB these days.
Well,
it's not like the Rockies are doing anything.
You have a very narrow view of the MLB, but
the Rockies are a joke organization. I'm going to go to a game at the end of the...
How many times have they beat the Yankees now in the last couple of years when the Yankees have actually had a good team?
Which is really insulting to the Yankees, and they should be really depressed about that. But I will go to see a game at the end of the month because the Dodgers are going to be in town. Now, Shohei might already be 50-50 by then, but I still want to go and see the Dodgers. But like, man, it's depressing. I mean, I don't know enough people in town to like ask them about it, but I can't imagine being a Coloradan and like having real faith in real fandom with the Rockies. I mean, it's been a terrible organization for years now, and it's like really fucking depressing because Coors is beautiful, and with like good ownership and a good front office, it could be awesome. I mean, Denver at this point, Denver is not some small market. Like Denver is a big fucking city, and the Front Range is crazy. Tons of people, tons of money. Like the Rockies could be a really awesome, vibrant organization. You know, it's like really depressing.
So think about this. We'll get baseball nerdy before we sign off. In our lifetime, we've had the Rockies, the Marlins, the Rays, and the Diamondbacks as expansion teams, right? Just those four?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I mean, there has been a lot of expansion in Major League Baseball. There were, 8 or 12 teams in the original?
There were, something like that. There were a couple in 77. There were a couple in 69.
62, 61, and everything. Yeah. 61 is the start of the modern expansion. Anyway, it is amazing to me how poorly run 3 of those 4 organizations have been throughout almost the entirety of their existence. Yep. And nobody says boot about it because MLB's raking in money.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like it's almost gotten to the point where the product doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And it's just like, can you bring me in money? So I'm kind of worried about, these new, there's going to be expansion. I mean, Manfred said it, at least 2 teams in the next, few years and everything. And I'm like, what kind of city? Because you talk about Colorado and whatever. And I mean, like, you just don't think of that as a baseball town, and that's because
it could be though with a good team, But
well, yeah,
they haven't been a good team since 07.
Yeah, exactly.
And even then, that was a fluke.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's like it's weird because like the Royals, they're an expansion team, 77 or 69.
Yeah, but there was the Athletics, right? That's
no. They're their own iteration.
I'm just saying, though, there was baseball in Kansas City before.
Yes, but I'm also saying they've had relative success in the league.
Oh, yeah.
And they've been well run as an organization. The Mariners, I mean, that first iteration, that 1 year, the Ball 4 stuff, Matt, that you've talked about, that was terrible. And then, the new one that came in 77, they haven't been to the playoffs the whole time, but I don't think they're not like a joke of an organization. I don't think anyone thinks of them, that way, and everything. So, those are some of the more recent ones. Just in comparison to those 4, and the Diamondbacks, the Diamondbacks and the Marlins have 3 championships between, the 2 of them, and the Rockies have been to the World Series once, and the Diamondbacks another time. And the Rays twice have been to the World Series, so they've had success. But I mean, just think about the investment that Tampa puts into, or St. Pete puts into the Rays, and just think about how poorly run the Rockies are. Think about
Yep.
how sadly it gets even worse in Miami. It feels like, with everything. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me how these cities got awarded the teams in the first place if they're not going to really invest for their people.
I really wish we had relegation. I know we've talked about this before, because obviously
Shout
Ted
out Ted
Lasso
Lasso.
opened that world to me, because obviously as a proper American who doesn't give a shit about soccer, I had no idea until that show. But man, when we talk about this kind of thing, like, that's the only thing I think of. And actually, Nick Castellanos, I don't know if you guys saw this, he was getting interviewed the other day, and he was asked if he was made commissioner for a day, what would he do? And he didn't say relegation, but he did talk about how he wishes that there was some way to give like actual consequences to owners who don't try, basically, right?
Mhm.
And man, I wish there was something. I wish there was some sort of relegation. Like, you see the shit that like John Fisher is pulling in Oakland. Like, he should be punished in some way. Like,
Yeah.
instead he's gonna eventually, when he sells the team, he's gonna make an insane fucking profit, and he just inherited anyways because of his parents being the Gap people.
Mhm.
Like, he's not qualified. There's
Mhm.
nothing special or good about him. It's pure fucking nepotism.
I mean, I would take, for all four of those franchises that I mentioned, I would take the incompetence of the Mara family and the Giants over what. Well, I would say 3 out of those 4. The Diamondbacks are fine, but at least like they're trying. I don't know
Matt, what are you pointing at? Your ownership of the Packers?
Public ownership.
Uh,
That is the answer to all of this. Public ownership.
That's what Ted Lasso
Um,
was.
Yeah.
By the
I
end,
want to
spoiler
next
alert.
time I want to talk about the Giants a little bit, and I want you guys to tell me, because you pay more attention to football than me. Is Daniel Jones actually as bad as a lot of people say? We'll talk about that next time. But
Yeah, Matt, have you recovered from Saquon Barkley winning NFC Player of the Week against the Packers?
I'm more worried about
Love.
Jordan, yeah.
Yeah. What is the deal with him?
Sprained MCL, out 3 to 6 weeks.
Ooh,
Oh, wow.
yikes.
So they're going to re-sign my boy?
He's in the practice squad.
Cliffy?
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. He's gonna be your Tom Brady.
No, he's still string number 3, but
Tom Brady was QB number 4. I just started watching the Dynasty. They have a documentary on Apple TV, and I just started watching it. I'm in the first episode, and yeah, he was QB4. Had no idea.
Wow.
One just quick while we're talking Giants briefly. You've seen those memes where it's like, how do you build the perfect quarterback? They'll be like, oh, I want Brett Favre's arm and so-and-so's decision making, and they like cobble together. Well, this is building the worst possible QB, and every attribute is just Daniel Jones. Like,
Oh,
Daniel
man.
Jones pocket presence, and Daniel Jones play execution, and Daniel Jones decision making. Like,
Oh, poor DJ.
His offensive line doesn't help.
Oh, man.
Yeah, still bad. All right, boys. Well, let's finish this off. Brother Jormby.
Jormby.
Ugh.
Jormby.
There we go. What do you got?
Extra long episode because Uncle Jormby was here. Shout out to Brother Ethan for always shouting out Jeremy. Shout out to the other 2 of you, because you also shout out Brother Jeremy. And, it's always a nice little thing. I listen to you guys while I work often, because all my work is on the computer. And yeah, I appreciate it.
You get some half chub when he hears this half chub.
Baby, I'm pre. Okay, never mind.
Oh, man.
I'm done.
I'll take that segue and go, fuck you, Cleveland Browns.
Oh,
Karma is a fucking bitch.
yep.
Like, everyone out there, go look up Baker Mayfield stats versus Deshaun Watson stats since the trade, and just have a good old laugh. Have a good old laugh. Like Jimmy Haslam, you are a crook and a piece of crap. I'm not supposed to say that I'm an NFL owner. But I don't like you, fellow NFL owner. And you're getting everything you deserve.
Yep.
Deshaun Watson, I hope you rot in prison.
God, it's rough. We should talk more about that on a future episode.
You
That's
should
pretty
also
rich.
talk about Tyreek Hill.
Oh,
I was going to bring that up at some point, but we didn't get to it, and we're way over. So, but
that would be interesting too.
That whole scenario and the fact that NFL likes to let that shit slide in the name of money is kind of fucked to me. But and probably a big reason I haven't followed the NFL since I was like 16. But also, I mean, I loved playing and watching football, but the NFL has some weird shit going on that I don't appreciate personally.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right, sweet. Well, we did it.
You're not gonna give any shout outs?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll give a shout out to Toddy. Hopefully she'll listen to this tomorrow. I'm solo parenting for most of the week. She's in Seattle. So
for work
I know
or for
she
pleasure?
misses me at least. Yeah, for work.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
She misses you at least.
Yeah, but maybe having some familiar voices in the background like we were talking about will be helpful.
Yeah.
I just want to give you a shout out, Colin, because we've been on this for an hour and 15 minutes, and you have 2 children under the age of 5. And
Yeah. How the fuck?
Age of 4.
How the fuck? Age of 4.
Yeah.
Well, didn't Stella just turn 4?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In July.
I saw that post.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean,
Don't know how you do it.
this is my only, usually I spend it with Toddy, but, on Wednesdays when we record, when the girls are in bed, that's when it's me time.
Yeah.
Unless I'm going to, go to bed when they go to bed. So I usually stay up until about 9:30, and everything, but, I'm exhausted with them alone, that's for sure. Especially with Stella and all her extracurriculars now and school and everything. I'm like, oh.
Well, shout out to you also, number 5 for Papilio. Is that how it's pronounced? Papilio?
Yes. Papilio. Yes.
Papilio.
For those who don't know, Colin's writing a really cool book, and I've been honored to be a part of that ride and provide my snobby feedback for someone who's lived and worked and played in the music industry, and it's really neat stuff, and I'm really excited to see the final product.
And the new graphic looks better, by the way, Kyle, than the one you had texted to us like last week or whatever. The one you posted like yesterday or the day before.
Oh yeah.
It looks cool. Yeah, it's better. Yeah.
Yeah. I've just been playing around. I got to learn how to edit. That's like, you can edit on some of these things. Like I did a whole bunch today of some of the other characters, just playing around and everything. I've literally never taken a lesson. I don't know exactly if I'm doing it right, but I was like, I want to have some type of image to, share with it all. But, Jeremy, thank you. I keep telling you, I'm encouraging the snobby musical feedback. Like I want this to be as authentic as it can be, at least for that crowd. And then, for the crowd who doesn't know as much about music, but is interested in that type of, or in the type of writing, I guess, that I do, maybe they'll learn something, from it. But, yeah, if I didn't have 2 kids under 4, I'd have a lot more time to get it done faster. But
yeah,
trust the process.
Yes, truly a process, man. All right, boys. Well, Jeremy, do you remember what the sign off is? How often do you listen till the very end?
We fucking are, buddy.
Woo!
We are fucking barely beating Bowling Green. I've been waiting for that one.
A dub's a dub.
Don't follow college football, but I've always rooted for Penn State. So.
Oh, don't now! Don't encourage
we
him.
are.